The text feature category recognizes exemplary journalism produced and published by Canadian media in print or online that is primarily text-based and not specifically investigative in nature. There are 5 finalists in this category. Leading off, the entry titled Before the Murder and After, The Life of Tyler Richards, written by freelancer Leslie Rower for the Halifax-based The Coast. Tyler Richards was a young man destined to reach a good life. A university degree from St. FX, a remarkable record as a basketball player, and a reputation in his inner-city neighborhood based on his volunteerism and mentoring role. Richards died at 29, with that university degree a few credits away and charges of assault, weapons, and trafficking on his record. He was found bound and shot. Rowe spent the time needed to learn about Richard's neighborhood, his family and friends, and get a deeper context behind some of the decisions the young black man made leading up to his death. From the Ottawa Citizen, an entry titled Watchdogs, Oversight, and Ontario's Thin Blue Line, How the Stakes Got So High, by Tyler Dawson. Police respond to a call and a suspect ends up dead. Who, what, and how are the actions of the officers involved in that incident investigated? How is the information collected, along with recommendations and consequences shared with the public? How does the public maintain a confidence that its interests are being served when the spotlight is turned toward police officers' conduct? These are some of the questions this entry sought to answer, as it looked into several cases of police-involved shooting deaths in Ontario in 2016, that led to the government announcing it would review the Special Investigations Unit, or SIU. What Dawson found most prominently was utter silence. The moment the SIU is involved, prying any information relating to its work, the incident that prompted the involvement, and even looking to the final report for a straightforward accounting isn't always what happens. Freelancer Paul Webster's entry, Big Pharma vs. Everyone, was published in Report on Business magazine. In it, Webster looks into the relationship between pharmaceutical companies, private healthcare insurance companies, and public drug plans when it comes to who pays for what and how much we end up paying for prescription drugs. Driving these questions are the facts. A health services sector that remains the most profitable slice of private sector industry, healthy profit margins on the sale of most pharmaceuticals during the period of time before their patents expire, and an increasing and complex disparity between what is paid for the same drug depending on how and through whom that prescription was purchased. Several solutions are presented that Big Pharma isn't too keen on seeing gain traction, including the formation of one public-private pharmaceutical alliance that would negotiate pricing for drugs with the industry for all Canadians, whether they pay the cost themselves, have private sector coverage, or are under a provincial pharmacare program. Our next entry comes from Maclean's magazine, titled The Great Escape, written by Jason Markusoff, Nancy MacDonald, and Charlie Gillis. This trio of journalists' reaction to the news that Fort McMurray was being evacuated was to put into place a plan on how to give it an appropriate and fulsome long-form treatment. The 11,000-word feature is their result.
Beacon Hill's gone. It's just unheard of.
Where do we go? What do we do? One highway, one way in, one way out. I walk out the back door and there's flames right there. It was like the apocalypse. Like, it still doesn't feel real.
Watching the city you've been living in a rearview mirror and seeing what's happening behind you and not knowing if you're going to be able to go back, and if you go back, then what's left, if there's going to be anything left at all.
You can always start from scratch, you know. Starting from scratch is not easy, but it's better than somebody losing his life, you know. That's the bigger picture for me.
John Wells' second nominated entry of the night lands in this category, The Forever Girl, published by the Hamilton Spectator. The girl? Cindy Williams. Her fate? Wells lines up his readers for it in the opening paragraphs of this Saturday long read feature. It's been a long time since the photo albums were opened here, in this house, which sits on a slip of land surrounded by cold, gray water. Cindy liked to climb. She liked popcorn and playing with friends. She didn't like hearing the word no. Cellophane crackles, peeling back a protective sheet in the album. Pictures developed decades ago, exposed to air, the edges curling as though the past is recoiling like a warning. The killer tried to make Cindy go away. Today, she would have been 46 years old. Words from Wells that would land at the same time as the Ontario Provincial Police reopened the 42-year-old case of the 4-year-old girl taken from her apartment and left for dead.